Welcome to Horsefly Chronicles Radio with Julia and Philip Siracusa. Sponsored by Carnation. Airing live on United Public Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. This show's opening has been produced, edited, and narrated by Gwen Luckett at gluckett.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Siracusa, and Phil Siracusa. We are broadcasting live from the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for their sponsorship. We love them. You'll have to do a few things in order to participate in chat. Go to our YouTube page, UFO Paranormal Radio. Go to all of our Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, Horsefly Chronicles Radio, SoundCloud, Podbean, Twitch, and all of those places where you can watch podcasts. So tonight, guys, we have another amazing guest. So please welcome to the show, Nancy Thames. She is a former Department of Defense employee and a lifelong contactee of interdimensional ET beings. Tonight, we're going to dive right into her journey, marked by her personal struggles transformed through her countless encounters. We will listen to her explain their purpose in her life and her dedication that made her create timeforDisclosure.com. So please let's welcome her to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Like I was saying before, you have an incredible life story. I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, because all of these things that have happened to you, I can't imagine it's been easy on you in any way. So kind of bring us to the beginning of your story and do you think why do you think this has happened to you?
Well, I know all the answers to all these things now. I did not know for a long time, but through time and persistence and patience on the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials part, they allowed me this time to have my spiritual growth, time for me to understand who I am within, not the Nancy Thames the world around me had created, but the Nancy Thames that came to Earth, my soul self, my inner soul self, and my purpose and my goals that I had made and made prior to, and the reason why I came here. So my first conscious memories start off at around 2 or 3 years old. And the way it always works for me is that when I have the extraterrestrials come to get me physically, I have face-to-face contact with them, which means just like I am sitting here right now, I am my physical body having physical contact. Mm-hmm. And so they always send 3 grays. And one of the grays is a female, and she has been with me since my birth, and she has always been with me, and she's always the one that comes, and she is not gray. Gray is a term that humans have come up with, but that's not what they go by at all. So these 3, though, they're hybrids. They are a hybrid species. They are biological, but they were created by the interdimensionals and the tall grays. And they created this hybrid group to do the legwork for them. Interdimensionals and extraterrestrials really don't like the density here on Earth. They can come down here, but it's really not compatible and it's not comfortable. So they designed through the DNA, through this hybrid group, a new race, and they simply do the legwork for them. So she is always with me wherever she gets me, preps me, gets me ready to travel, gets me on craft. And then when I'm on craft, I don't see her anymore until it's time to bring me back home. And then she's always who brings me back home. And she's reddish brown. I think I said that. But she's about 4 foot tall, and she's doesn't show emotion or expression. She has a very bland personality. When she speaks to me telepathically, I cannot sense any inflection in the telepathic message or whether it's male or female. It's very bland. And she's very task oriented, meaning that if I'm there's different periods in my life, different stages that I've gone through when I was very young and the world around me had not told me anything about this experience. I knew no different. It was beautiful. It was good. It was wonderful. I look forward to it. They made it very pleasant. And so basically, as I got older and the world around me, by say around the age of junior high, somewhere in that neighborhood. And by this time, when I would mention about visitors in my room, as I got older, it wasn't funny and cute as it was when I was little. So my parents would approach it as, we don't want to hear that. That's just dreams. Cut it, And so I learned at a very young age to suppress this information and just accept the fact that it's something that I was experiencing, but that nobody wanted to listen to. So, but as I got older, my curiosity was getting the most of me because, for one, I wanted to know why nobody wanted to talk about this. I grew up in the South. I grew up in Tennessee. It is pretty much the Bible Belt, and these things were considered automatically demonic or automatically something that was a mental issue. So there was so many reasons not to talk about this. And I was very active in sports, very active in Girl Scouts, very active. And my family was very active within the community. So this would not be something that would be acceptable. And I knew not to talk about these things or I would get a big whooping, big time, because it would have been embarrassing to my family, So I just sucked it up. But then again, I realized from hearing what people would say or what I would see on television, or if I would slip at a bookstore and try to look at things, I realized that other people were having different experiences than I was having, and they were scared to death of extraterrestrials and interdimensionals. So that made me stop and question, okay, what is going on with me? What is this? So I went from this very little innocent child to all of a sudden being very fearful and having anxiety. And whenever I have the ability, I know when they're coming, I can feel a frequency change within my body because they are at a very high frequency. Humans are at a low frequency. They come from different dimensions, so their frequency is much higher than ours. So even before they materialize in a room, I know that they're coming. So when I started feeling that fearful, scared, anxiety type thing, when they would come, I would keep my eyes closed and the blankets up, like over my head. And I don't know if they were telepathically telling me to keep my eyes closed, because they are telepathic. Everything that I feel, they feel tenfold. So I realized very quickly that they don't like these feelings. They don't understand our feelings of fear, anxiety. They do not understand in their reality, in their world, those aren't emotions that they have. So they would simply tap me on the forehead, or either through their consciousness put me in a kind of a sedated, without the medicine, but a very calm state where I was fully functional and could go through the whole experience. But the only problem with that is that when I would come back and either have the conscious memory waking up, full conscious memory waking up as crawling back into the bed, or wake up later on and then I would realize that from the minute that they got there and I felt the fear, that they had put me in a trance. And so all of my memories were fragmented, which means there's bits of time and missing pieces throughout the experience that I couldn't remember. So that was very annoying, not knowing what's happening. And so, but I went through that stage for a very long time. It took me a long time to face my fear, to understand my fear, and to find out what the fear truly was. So, and they helped me. They would tell me telepathically it was up to me, and that, I had to work on it and overcome it. And, and they were very patient. So it got to the point where I realized that it was going to keep continuing that way, because they're not only is it unpleasant for them to feel the emotions that we have, but they really can't get anything done. And they're not there for a tea party or a party. They're there for a task, a reason, a purpose. So, and that's what's most important to them. So that's why all human beings, you'll hear them talk about missing time, or there's parts they just don't remember. And that's wise, because they're very task oriented, and it's sticking to the, task at hand, and they don't have time for any negotiation or chit chat, anything like that. So with that being said, so took me a long time to get to the point where I just started, when I would feel that sensation, that frequency change, then I would mentally correct myself and say, wait a minute, you've done this before. You can do this. Push through, go forward with it. And so that's what I started doing. And then that allowed me to have more conscious time with them, and more direct communication, and more or the full memory of the full experience. So, but there was lots of things that happened in between all that was very questionable and threw flags up for me. When I got married when I was in my early 20s, and I had 2 little boys. And when I was getting close to 30, we were on a vacation, and we were staying at a Marriott hotel on a beach, perfect. It was ground level, and they were in one bed, and my ex-husband and I were in one bed, in another bed. And all of a sudden I felt they were coming. So I raised up and looked around, and then they materialized. But these were not the same 3 that were coming for me. These were totally different. These were actually gray, and they were 3 foot tall, and they were wearing long robes and had on high collars. And when they saw me sitting up in the bed, one approached me, pressed me down, and telepathically told me, this is not about you. Lay down. And so he guided me down, and I went down, and he put me in a sleep paralysis, but I was fully conscious, but I could not speak and I could not move. And then I realized, as they started walking towards the other bed, they were there for my children, not me. So I saw them take my 2 sons, what I assume was their first time, or it may not have been, I don't know. So I witnessed them getting them out of the bed and then leading them out. And so at that point, I was released of the paralysis, but I went straight to sleep. And so I didn't wake up till the next morning. And the first thing I did was look over at them, and they were safe and secure in their bed. So I went on about my business, and I discussed it briefly with my ex-husband, and he didn't want me to bring it up to the children because he thought it was a dream that I had. So we went to breakfast, and the only thing I said was, do either of you, did you have a strange dream or anything happen in the night that you would like to talk about? And they just, nothing, they didn't have any memory of it at all. But that right there was what hit the fan, because I realized this is not just about me. This is something more. I don't understand. I was handling the part all this time, knowing it was me, but now this is different. So when I got back home, I sit down and I sit on the floor, and I made what I considered a safe space. Like I took it, I make it like I was sitting on carpet. So I just kind of like put the carpet around me, and I was just like, made a fingernail, made a circle like thing. And I was just like meditating full intention to them, asking them to please explain to me, give me and tell me why me, why my children, what is the purpose? What does this mean? Please. So I went to bed. They did not come immediately. I'm not a person that claims to call them down, and I'm a human being. I do human being things. I don't have any special abilities or claim to do any of these things. But they did come, but it was on their time. And so the female gray took me by the hand, and she led me up to a craft. And when I got on the craft, she took me before a group of what she called elders. And these elders were the interdimensionals, and they were from different races and they were from, I guess, like different clans or regions, whatever their terminology is. I'm not sure on everything. But so I asked them, why is this happening to me? Why? And they told me that before becoming a human being, that I had made an agreement to come here and have the human experience and to be a part of this evolutionary process that humanity is going through, and that I would not understand it all at that time, which was around my early 30s. But that's really all they could tell me at that time. But they would be coming to visit me and helping me to remember and recall who I am and why I made these choices. And so I stood there and I was shaking my head. And so what they did was they opened up a vision, and they showed me in the vision, me sitting and waiting as a interdimensional. And I was sitting there waiting, and they were coming to me and talking to me and telling me that it's time for you to have your human experience. When you wake up, you will not remember any of this. You're going to go into your mother, your mother, you will be a child there, and we won't see you until later on. So, and that's basically what has happened. And I now understand. They told me that a long time ago. But to be honest with you, at that particular time, I didn't understand any of it. It just was not in my realm of thinking or how I had been brought up, because in my realm of thinking, I was Nancy. I was the little girl that played with the Girl Scouts and played basketball. All these things were foreign to me. So, but then as I got older and they started spending more conscious time with me, because I learned how to manage the fear and push through it. I call it pushing through it, because you still feel these things, but you have to make yourself, and you have to push yourself through it. So what really helped me though was about 2 years ago, they gave me gifted me a Kundalini awakening. And when they did that, that changed everything for me. It was profound. It opened up my subconscious into my human consciousness. So everything that had happened to me since a little girl, all these things, strange things that I didn't understand, finally all came together, and I could put it all together and understand it for the first time. And I could understand that my children were also had made agreements to do the same thing. And I understand now that they could have easily have taken my two little boys without me ever even knowing, but they wanted me to know, even though I didn't understand it and it upset me at the time. It served a greater purpose. And the purpose is who we are now, what we're doing, understanding our true self, who our inner soul is, and why we're here, and the importance of trying to help humanity to understand that we are in a world that is changing, and we are changing every single day. We are through an evolutionary process of reaching higher consciousness. We are moving from this 3D world that we've been in for so long. We are branching out into new ways of thinking, new ways of living. Our lives are going to change dramatically. And certain races have sent incarnates here for this purpose, to have the human experience and to help humanity understand that there's so much misinformation and there's so many things that we have been lied about throughout our lives. And I'm not just talking about through our lives, I'm talking about for eons, like the true history of our planet, the true history of our origins. We've been in a controlled program like a matrix. I don't like to use the word matrix, but we're programmed into thinking and doing by this group of elites that manipulate us. They manipulate our governments. They control our pharmaceutical companies, our banking systems, our religious systems. They control our air, there's toxins in our air, our water, and our food, all these things, and our media. Everything around us is thrown to keep humanity separated. They never have wanted us to come together and unite, because they know, as we're fixing to find out, with higher consciousness, and we realize that these old negative ways of living, warlike ways, no longer serve us, and we want better things for ourselves and for future generations, we will simply walk away and quit watching all this negative things on the news. We will simply walk away from people that are so negative, and they can't get past all these negative aspects of life. We will learn to understand the world around us, and we'll understand that we live in a 3D world, but we are moving up, and we are limited on how we experience the universe and the world around us because we only have the 5 senses. But now our awareness is going to open up. We are going to start visually seeing things in the paranormal, extraterrestrials in the skies that are not hiding from us. We simply could not see these things because of our being in the 3D realm. But we are evolving. We are taking a major leap in evolution in our awareness. And the beautiful part about it is that it will happen so slow. It will not be like night and day. It will be at a slow pace, so that it doesn't shell shock anyone, because these things have been done throughout time in all universes and all galaxies. And it has to be done just like our creation, in a gentle, beautiful, slow way, so that everybody feels a part of it. And it's not so weird. It just blends so smooth. So, and they've showed me visions of how it works, and how humanity will, as we progress, we'll start being more positive human beings. We'll find ourselves singing the beautiful things about life. We'll start noticing that the day is not unpleasant. It's just another way of looking at it, a different way of thinking. So I know this sounds really weird to people because we live in a world where there's so much wars and negativity and crime, but that's what the 3D realm is. That's what it is. These things can occur here. And we are waking up for the first time. And I can't tell you how happy interdimensionals and extraterrestrials are. Not only them, but our planet Earth. Our planet Earth is a living, conscious being. All planets are living, conscious beings. The universe is a living, conscious being. Our air, our water, all the plants and trees are living insects. Everything is living, conscious beings. Just because we can't see them communicating with our 3D eyes doesn't mean it's not happening. And our scientists are slowly putting out this information to us so that people don't freak out. But as we evolve, we're going to start realizing all these things. And our world and our planet are all so thrilled that human beings are finally waking up and getting to a level of understanding our true place on this planet and our connections to everything on it, because we are all one. We were all created here for the purpose and to support each other. We are all one. So that also means that the universe, we are part of that, and we are part of the cosmos. We are part of the cosmic realm. We come from the cosmic realm, and we are part of the extraterrestrials and interdimensionals. So whatever we do here affects them. And we tend to forget because we've lost our connections with our own planet and all the creatures that live on it. But when we were created, all of us were here to support each other. Everything we ever needed, as far as like medicinal food or whatever, was placed here on this planet for us to use. But through the course of time, we've been manipulated. So we don't appreciate what trees do for us. We don't appreciate our planet Earth and what she does for us. And it's not that we did these things on purpose. We were manipulated into thinking about materialistic things, thinking about ourselves,
Right. Yeah.
and all these things are fixing to change. And it's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. I do have a question in
Yes.
chat. First, I want to give a shout out to everybody in chat. Z Sun, Joe Fox, Jordan, Howie Odell has just joined us. So Joe Fox, he has a question. He wants to know, can he manifest an encounter such as this?
Well, for me, I can only speak for me. I cannot speak for other people. Everybody has their own experience, and I don't pretend to know everything. I do not. I learn more and more every day. The more I learn, the more I realize how much more there is to learn. But for me, I know I was an interdimensional before I came here, and my children were too. We chose to be here for this reason. And other people, all of us chose to be here. We may not remember that we chose to be here, but I know I chose to be here. And I know that all human beings chose to be here. Whether you come from a interplanetary soul realm, or an angelic soul realm, or a earthborn soul realm, I don't know. Everybody's got their different reasons for being here and on their own spiritual paths. And that's a lot of reasons why, a lot of people say, why don't the ETs come down here and fix everything? If they've got all this, they can do all these things. But see, we are here on free will. We made a choice to be here and have the human experience. And also we chose what experiences we were going to have. So they cannot overstep the boundaries of what we have chosen to experience for ourselves. And we are here on free will. And there is a cosmic law that says they're not supposed to overstep these boundaries.
Okay.
So I don't know, what I think people should do is meditate to your subconscious, look within, go within, figure out who your inner soul self is, not the person that has been programmed by our world around us. Find out our true selves. Our true selves, our subconscious knows everything about us. They know what our intentions here on earth. They know, it knows what we wish to achieve. So what I do is I even remind my subconscious that my human conscious can handle any information, because our brains block out a lot of things to protect us. So a lot of people could have had extraterrestrial experiences and their brain block it out because of the fear. We are in a fear-bound realm. Everything appears to us as a predator
And
because
that's like for everything. We tend to block, all
yeah,
of our traumatic trauma.
and it's not our fault. That's just part of our programming. And plus, when we were created, everything around us was a predator. So we still have that fear-based fight or flight. You're going to fight or run, that type of thing. So,
I'm
and
gonna let Phil jump in because I know he has some questions. So
sure.
Phil.
Well, listening to her was very interesting. She said things that were ringing bells, Julia, to my story.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
about these, I had in July 2007, I had an encounter too with 3 tall, thin grays,
Mhm.
and it's documented. And not only is it documented, the way you were describing it, I was being pulled into what you were saying because I encountered that sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
I encountered them, and I even touched one of them.
Yeah.
But there's no control. At one point, you have no control over anything. You can't do anything.
Exactly.
And on top of that, I have pictures. So what you're saying is real, and it's amazing. I don't have all the answers, but I feel like
Nobody has. Yeah.
what
The
you're
only-
saying is right. That we're like
I don't think any of us have all the
No.
answers. I'm 64 years old. I've been doing this for a very long time. And now that I have had the Kundalini awakening, and they've sent me they sent me to Mexico. They sent my son and I to Mexico, and we went down there, and they came to see me every single night. And we were in a very primitive area up in mountains with no electricity. And they wanted me to meet a Zapotec tribe, and they wanted my son to meet them as well. My son has all the experiences that I have, and he's had a Kundalini awakening. They didn't happen at the same time, and they don't take us at the same time. Even if when we were on the mountain in Mexico in a cabin, when they come for me, it's 3 different ones come for me, and it's 3 different ones that come for him. He has his own bonded group that's with him, and I have mine. So, and when I wake up, because I see them there, they'll say it's not about you, but they don't put me in a sleep paralysis anymore. They just tell me this is not you. And I lay back down, but so they have shown me a lot of things, but it's because of me being persistent in beating my fear and myself wanting to know more and more. And when they gave me the Kundalini awakening, that answered a lot of things for me. And it gave me the confidence to know. For one thing that was bothering me is like when they were giving me like messages and downloads, I was like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but where is this coming from? Am I just thinking this, or, and so that's why they jump started me and did the Kundalini, because I was questioning myself. So now I know what they did, and I know It was a scary process, by the way. I don't know if y'all have ever experienced that, but it scared me to death.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
I remember, Phil, when that happened to you, I think you had a story about me. That was the time, right? When I sat up.
Yeah, it was when we lived in a different part of Pennsylvania.
So, and I have
I had
no.
that same experience. They came in three. There were three of them.
So you were
And that's
aware of
when I got the
something
picture
there.
of one of them. I got the picture of one of them the next day through the mirror, and you could see it. So you could see exactly what it is. And then up until, look, that's 2007. We're in 2024. I can't lift a mattress still because I get electric shocks through my fingers all these years later.
Wow.
And I can't hold a landline phone to my left ear because I get a ringing.
Yeah.
But,
I used to not be able to wear a watch because
Yeah.
it just would not work on me.
Ah.
Now I can because they have all these fancy computer ones, but the old kind, I could never, ever wear a watch. It would just never work on me. So yeah, those things are real.
It is real. And look, I'm a hardcore New Yorker. I don't believe in a lot of stuff, and it's hard to believe till you experience it.
It's
And
true.
I came up with my story. My story's been documented and put and published, many books. It's hard for people to grasp that don't have these experiences. Some of us are messengers to others, and other people who understand it will reciprocate and get it. Other people may not get it, and that's just okay. But one thing I did get through a form of telepathy from these beings that they are not here to harm. But
No.
what they were explaining to me was we're in a multiverse in a way where it's kind of like what they were explaining to me is we actually are living in multiple dimensions simultaneously. And it took me a long time to understand that, but I get it now.
Yeah.
It's wild. And
people don't understand dimensions and are not physical places. They're higher levels of consciousness. And all these things are kind of like onion layers, just right on top of each other. So there could be an extraterrestrial craft in the room with me right here, right now. There could be one with y'all in each of your rooms. And if they want you to see it, they can manifest it, or they can stay there and just observe you, or they can stay invisible and move things around. And I've had them do that. So they can do a lot of things. What people don't understand too is, like, for example, you and I, we're talking on laptops. Our technology is us. Okay. In their reality, they're billions of years ahead of us in evolution. Their consciousness is their technology. It is not a separate entity. They can manifest, travel, do anything with their higher consciousness. So their craft are living conscious beings. So when they get their pilot who is trained genetically to fly a craft, he gets in, his consciousness meets up with the craft's consciousness, and he simply thinks where he wants to go, and boom, they go through higher consciousness. It's amazing.
It's kind of like when you listen to billionaires talk, and I'm just trying to separate this right now, but billionaires say that in order to get what you want in life, you have to manifest it. And she's right, because what she's saying in a perspective is that these beings have a way of manifesting a thought process, and it happens. And what billionaires are saying is, hey, if you want to be, you have to imagine an image that you have it already, which is not easy to do, right? It's hard for me to do, but they found a way to manifest it into a thought that makes it happen in their life.
Yeah.
And you're right about that. You're 1000% right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I tell my grandson when he goes up playing slow pitch, whatever, coach pitch, that's what it's called, coach pitch. I tell him, visualize yourself knocking it out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
Because there's a science to all these things. There really is. I mean, it's not just crazy talk at all.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't do certain things. I have a couple pictures that I've shown around. Like, it's bizarre. It's real. It's real.
Yeah.
And what proves to me that it wasn't just a nightmare or a dream stage I was in is because the next morning after I had this experience, and something was put into my left eardrum, by the way, I don't know what, but my wife, we woke up in the morning like, do you remember what happened here last night? She goes, no, what are you talking about? And I thought maybe it was a dream. Well, then the next day I had a couple of biker friends, motorcycle friends that, hardcore. And they said, hey, did you hear about the UFO sighting over Eastern Pennsylvania? I'm like, UFO sighting? And then it was the same exact date and time that someone was driving and reported it over Eastern Pennsylvania, I think it was July 7, 2007. And I'm like, wait a second. And here we go. It's all ringing now. And now I can't lift the mattress after that point.
And not
most likely before, when you were deciding to come to Earth, most likely you are part of some, like the Greys or somebody. You are in with them. You have a direct lineage probably too. And I don't understand why we have to be erased when we come here. It would make it so much easier having more intelligence, but we're just now getting to the point to where we understand all these things. And I really think for our children and grandchildren, they're going to be more aware of these things that we've had to struggle with for so long,
And I was gonna say that right after that incident, so we did catch something in our closet. Like we have that picture.
Well, that's the one through the mirror. That was the gray right through the mirror recorded. We posted it on social media. People would come and phone and say, look what it looks like. It is what it is. And it's hard to dissect it and say it's not. It's not a matrix. It's not an optical illusion. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Some people will believe, look, here's what I say. A creator could go into the sky that we call God, or people call God. Half the population will say, I see him, or it, or whatever. And the other half of the population say, I see nothing, in deniability.
Yeah.
So we as humans cannot prove anything unless people are meant to understand.
That's right.
Maybe they're not meant to get it.
That's right.
Maybe it's just not their calling.
Level or different path. But I'm hoping, and it won't happen overnight, but I'm hoping that this is a worldwide phenomenon. And from what they've told me, they want for the majority of the world to wake up, because that's why they're reaching out to humanity, to people like us. I mean, not our governments, not those, no, humanity. We are huge in number. And if we could just get the majority of us together and understand these things, and everybody get on the same wavelength at a higher frequency, that's the goal, is to raise our frequencies. Everything, the key to all this is raising our frequencies, obtaining higher consciousness, higher awareness, higher knowledge, and we'll be more control of our lives, as every aspect of it in our lives will get better. And they've explained to me all these simple ways that it's not hard. It's just simply, if you have negative thoughts, start thinking of 2 positive ones, just trying to, doing it yourself, work within. And as you're doing it with yourself, your spouse or your kids will pick up on it, and then it spreads. And then they start doing it, and then it spreads to grandmas and grandpas and friends. And that's the way it's going to happen. And it will happen. I don't know. See, in their reality, there is no such thing as time. So when people say, well, how long is this going to take? Well, I don't know, because everything is happening here and now to them. Like you were saying, all these dimensions are all here.
Yeah. Have you ever actually touched one? I know Phil said.
Oh, yes. Yes.
What was that experience like?
Oh, it's amazing.
And were you scared?
Feels like a dolphin.
Oh, wow.
And I've seen many different races. I've seen all kinds of grays. There's over 60 different races of grays, from different heights to different colors. They have kind of different facial, a little bit different facial features, not major, but there are some differences. I've met different reptilians, and I've met aquatic beings. The Nordics, the Palladians, I have a hard time figuring the difference between them, to be honest with you. And then the interdimensionals are like 7 to 8 foot tall, and they are very pale, almost luminescent, because of they're really much higher frequency. And what I can kind of compare it to that you would understand is that, you know how back in biblical days they talked about shiny ones?
Yeah.
The shiny ones, that's because they were etheric, because of their such higher consciousness. So that's what the interdimensionals look like. They're more of an etheric, real pale light. And they have human-like features, but they are not human at all. They're not human. And from what I've been, they explained to me, is like if the three of us, they teleported us back in time to the biblical days, because of our higher consciousness than the people of that time, we would appear as the shiny ones to them.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Yeah.
So, Howie Odell has a question. A statement. I feel that they're here through, yes, separate dimensions, and I agree with Nancy with the cosmic and the universal law. They are held outside. I'm sorry, I'm struggling to read.
Just
Yes,
okay.
yes, I'll put it up here so you can see it.
I feel they are here. Yes, they are here.
Yeah.
They can come in and out of dimensions. They can manifest and be visible.
Just like a spirit. I mean,
Yeah,
it's very,
they're not hiding from us. We just simply can't see it, you know. So they're everywhere in our solar system and in our skies. And I think, I don't know this for a fact. Well, I've used some. I've always been able to see them since I was a child. I never understood why other people couldn't. Because it was just clear as the sky. I could see it, but some people just don't want to see these things, and
right.
You can't make people do what they don't want to do.
No.
So, but it's real, and they're here. And as far as what was the other thing that said, I couldn't read the last part of it. They're not held outside. They can come and go as they like. And
question. I can't remember the question.
But there's a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of bad reputations, like stereotype, like the Greys are stereotyped, but people don't realize there's so many different races. And even the ones that everybody thinks we're doing something bad, I think a lot of our understanding as we evolve through our evolutionary phase, all of our questions will be answered. And it all stems back from fear, traumatic events and things like this. I think we'll have a better understanding. And most people will be like Travis Walton, for example. They made a whole movie about him, Fire in the Sky. And the movie was not the true event of what happened, but he was very traumatized when he got home. But what he says now and what he said back when it happened, it's two different stories. Now he will tell you they saved his life. They could have left him there in the forest, but they took him, repaired him, and then dropped him off in a public area so that he could get continued medical assistance. But, of course, when he sold the rights to the story, he had no say anymore, or to this day, he can't go back and change any of that. But he did write his own biography, and he goes to conferences, and I have met him, and he's explained to me that, he didn't understand any of it at the time. It was the fear overtook him, you know, and he just, your brain will fill in those blanks the best it can.
Phil, do you have any questions before?
No, I think it's amazing. There's a million questions. There's so many things that we don't know, but we're talking about what we do know. But what we do know is that we're not alone.
Right.
There's more to us. There's more to the universe and the cosmic ways. And
well,
you know, one thing I listen and see when you talk, that when you talk about fear, if we go back in time through societies and cultures, people are forced in a way to be ruled by governments and their belief systems.
Exactly.
And that creates wars, and religion creates wars. And this goes back, way back to medieval times.
Yeah, this is way back. Yeah.
And when you think about it, when you really think about it, and we try to raise your vibration, and you put the news on, which is all horrible, and you see what's going on with the wars and the crime and the murders and the famine and the disease, it lowers your vibration because you're stuck in this centerpiece of, you can't walk out of it because you're part of it in one way or another. You're forced to live. You have to eat. So everything you eat is probably polluted in one way or another. The air you breathe, the chemtrails in the skies and things. So you're under the rule of thumb, no matter who you are on this planet, whether you're an animal or a person. Governments control everything. And all around the world. And no one can change that, unfortunately, because this is the way it is. But like you're saying, you could try and raise your vibration and your thought and your consciousness. That's it. But the minute you walk out of your house, you're part of society. Whether you live off the grid, you still have to eat. You still have to breathe in the air that is polluted, period.
But from the interdimensional extraterrestrial perspective, we're doing our part.
Yes.
And if we're doing our part, they can assist. They cannot fix everything, but they can assist. But we have to be doing our part. They're not going to come down here and just do it all for us. We have to do our part. It's just like when we were born, we have to fall before we walk.
Absolutely.
We have to do our part. And then they will, you know, they're here to assist us. They're all around us. And I'm not talking about just one or two races. I'm talking about there's many, many races, and they are so excited because they have been waiting for the day for us to realize who we are, our uniqueness, because we have parts of our DNA that has not even activated because of all the toxins in our air and our water and our food. Our pineal gland is calcified. That is what creates higher thinking. That is what creates intuition, telepathic, clairvoyant, telepathic messages, all these things. And all this has been suppressed intentionally to keep us dumbed down. And they also control our population by keeping us unhealthy and keeping us at a lower dumbed down state. They can control our population. So we're fixing to change. We're going to start living longer lives. We're going to start demanding better quality air, better quality food, better quality of everything, because we're going to become at an intelligent level and a healthy level they can't control anymore.
Absolutely. Well, you know, this hour has gone by so fast. Nancy, you're amazing, and we want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody in chat, for coming in and joining us. Where can people find you?
Well, my website is timefordisclosure.com, and I have a Facebook group. It's Time for Disclosure / We Have Never Been Alone / We Are the Disclosure. And I want to say this quickly. I truly think it does not matter what our governments tell us. The fact of the matter is humanity is the disclosure. We are the disclosure. We are going through an evolutionary process. We are what the world and the universe has been waking on. We are the generation that we're going to make the change that has been so needed for decades. But we are the generation that will go down in history books, making the change or starting the change, getting it going or doing it. And I hope that we do it, because we are the disclosure.
Perfect ending to a perfect one. Thank you so much. I also want to say special thank you to Carnation for fully sponsoring the show from day one. Please join us next Monday night on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. Thank you, Nancy, for joining us. And
Thank you for having me. I'd love to come
Thank
back. I love it.
Yes, we definitely have to have you back.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.